Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar.
You did.
Five,
You did it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Jim.
Hi, David. You
It was-
surprised me.
Yes, there was no little bird flying in the window this time.
You didn't give me a bird. You said I was number one for real.
No, you really are number one, Jim. You're number one in my book. You
Yeah.
need some casual reinforcement at this point.
I definitely do. When it takes you 47 takes to get one 4-bar keyboard,
only 47.
4-bar keyboard. I cannot say that 3 times fast.
Jim, I have entire song files I deleted just because I got pissed off that I couldn't hit the solo right.
For some reason, I kept almost every other freaking chord. I'm using this mini keyboard, right? So my fingers are a little fatter than these keys. And I'm striking them, and I'd be hitting like a wrong note. I was like, I got to go back and record a whole record thing. Now, if I was smart, I would learn how to use the software and pull the bad note out. Because you can see it.
You
can
can just go into the piano roll and click it and delete it.
Yep.
No big deal. Anyway,
I'm not that smart.
we got. Don't make me read some iTunes reviews. We should probably do that soon. If there are any new ones out there. I haven't been in there to even look. So I forgot the housekeeping last episode. I've been forgetting the housekeeping, recently.
That's all right. Every other time you're getting it.
Yeah, as long as you guys, get it every once in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Are you a regular listener? Why not subscribe to Practical Guitarist using your chosen podcast app? Take the time to put in a review with a service where you found our podcast like iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play. Get involved. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/Practical Guitarist. You can also find us on Twitter as @PracticalGuitarist. If you're interested in supporting the show, we have launched a Threadless store at Practical Guitarist Podcast at threadless.com. And if you'd like to donate money to the show, there's always Patreon. Our Patreon is available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. And if you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at questions@practicalguitarist.com. I've been practicing. And I still make mistakes, but it's fine.
That sounds good.
I'm going to, and I swore off that I wasn't going to do this. I was going to fly it in from now on, but I think I am. I think I'm going to do a real professional version of that and fly it into our show. So that's so all of our fans can skip right through it. They'll know. I'll let everybody know in the Facebook group when exactly the show starts. You can skip the intro and that.
You can always skip to second 12 or 8 or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, we did our other episode last night. So we're recording actually in concentric nights, which is nice because we can kind of take a look back at the material from last night and go,
wow, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I will not sing you the song of our people, I promise. That was a one-time thing. I had to resist really hard putting a fuzz pedal and delay on that.
You should have done a thing into a distorted mic.
Yeah. Well, no, it's plenty distorted. It's plenty distorted, trust me.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I haven't listened to it yet.
Well, Jim, you got some topics. I mean, we were talking. You got some things you want to read, and
but let's talk about some injuries first. I want to talk about the fact that, as I said, I was doing these takes with a keyboard, so you might be able to hear my clicking.
Yeah,
hear my keyboard in the background. So all I did was record people 8 bars of a solo, and maybe 16. I don't know, and the whole thing. Took me an hour and a half to get it right because I kept clicking the edge of these keys and stuff.
Yeah.
So my right hand is freaking killing me from because it's major, minor, major, minor, minor, major, minor.
You'll be fine because next time you do it, you won't have to worry about it because your fingers will be stronger. Just
right.
Man up about it, Jim. Or
now I gotta
up about it. Frankly,
I gotta do the verses. So, my hand hurts. So you had forearm.
All right. So I'm looking at there's a dot on my middle finger right now. About 4 weeks ago, I put a bowl in the dishwasher, and the bowl shattered. Well, it was a glass bowl, And,
Oh, shoot.
And it was an older glass bowl, so it wasn't like safety glass or anything like that. And
Right.
it shattered, and I got shards of glass in my hand, like all over my hand. And I got one area on my middle finger at the joint. So, the joint at the end of the finger, and then there's one joint down. So it's in the middle joint, right?
Right.
And I pulled it out. I pulled out the shard of glass that had caused the cut. And I, of course, Band-Aided and, cleaned my hand up and pulled all the other shards of glass out that unfortunately were not, they didn't hurt me. It was just like having slivers or whatever. So I pulled all the shards of glass out, and I went about my, day and whatever. And then a couple of days later, when I was changing the band, I noticed I had a blister there. Like, this is weird. Like, I normally don't blister. Like, maybe it's because it's on the joint. Well, so I kept a Band-Aid on it because I was playing guitar and stuff, and I didn't want to reopen it or anything. Well, after about a week and a half, I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I did my emergency medical procedure, and I lanced it with my knife. And I was like digging around on it because I'm like, what is going on here? This is weird. It was like there was two blisters, right? There was one on the surface.
That's painful just to listen to.
There was one on the surface and one inside. No, actually, it didn't hurt at all. That was what was fucking weird. So it didn't hurt at all. Even to cut it open, it didn't hurt. Wow. So I let it go. I put a Band-Aid on it and kept it clean and stuff and did my antiseptic and all that. And for like the next week, it just kept blistering. And then it would rupture like when I was playing guitar, and then it would blister again. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So yesterday or the day before, I was playing in the morning and I sliced it on a fret end, and then I was like, all right, to hell with this. I gotta deal with this. So I stopped and I kind of massaged it a little bit and went, and all of a sudden it hurt. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's the first pain I'd felt in it in probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Right.
And so I'm like squeezing on it. I'm sorry, this is disgusting here, but I'm like squeezing on it, like whatever. And all of a sudden it starts hurting again. I'm like, what the fuck? So I
another piece of glass.
I look real close. Oh yeah. I look real close and there's this like little thing sticking out. And it actually looks like part of the wound, and I'm like,
right.
I don't know what the fuck that is. And I'm like, I tried to pull out my fingers and I couldn't get it. So I got a pair of tweezers and I went in the bathroom. And I pulled out a piece of glass that was in my finger that was, it was as big as the wound. It was ridiculous. It was, it was big. And I got a picture of it. I'm not going to post it in the group. I don't want to. If you want to really see it, you can Facebook message me. But I pulled it out. And I'm like, oh my God, like this thing was still in there. So now that I pulled it out, immediately after I did that, like the spot doesn't feel irritated. It doesn't itch. I've got skin growing over it already. Like, and this is a day ago. So I'm like, well, lesson learned.
That's right. Lesson learned. If you play guitar, don't do dishes.
don't do that. Well, I used to skateboard. I used to skateboard, and I was real big into skateboarding. I was doing it a lot, like probably 4 or 5 hours a day. And when I started to pick up the guitar, it was around the same time. And like I fell one time and I screwed up my hands, and that was when I decided, I can't do this anymore. Like I had to pick, and I picked guitar, so I stuck with it. But
see, there you go. Lesson learned. Don't skateboard and don't do dishes. All right. So the first thing I want to read about today is I posted in the group about the fact that I was looking at some picks, right? And I was thinking about asking somebody, because Christmas is coming. Everybody always asks me, what do you want me to get you? And they don't want to spend a lot of money. So I'm like, how about these Howling Monkey guitar picks? Well, this guy, Ray Blowers, in the group, thanks, Ray, put a very long, I'm not going to read the whole thing, review on them, but I'll pick out the high points. So he ordered pretty much what I would order, the number 358 teardrop picks. He only got two of the three. And these are $7 a piece. And so I would have probably said, I want my third one, but he didn't. Anyway, he said for two reasons. Primarily, he didn't like them at all. He said they felt slippery, even though they've got like a pistol grip, which you can see in the picture.
A diamond plate, like
right,
not
like,
diamond, but
diamond
serrations.
Yeah, which we used to use on different things to make it so people won't slide around like on non-skid strips and things like that. He said it didn't work. He said the harder he squoze, the more it felt like the pick was going to fly out, which meant he squoze harder. So it just added tension to his playing. And two, wear. And that was the big thing. And the ad copy talks about how these picks are, so durable. And so that was one of the reasons I said to my daughter, I said, maybe that's a good gift idea, which I've since relinquished. Because they say that it's a seed that grows on palm trees in South America called a tagua nut.
Interesting.
And he said that the product does have a dense tactile qualities against wood. So how durable do you think it is to be scraped against steel?
Right.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, wood? That's ridiculous. Wasn't there a pick I talked to you about? Wasn't it chicken picks I talked to you about? And you said you got white stuff all over the place. Was it chicken picks?
No, it's the cool picks.
Cool picks.
But the cool pick, so the cool pick is, and you can get them on Amazon. If you search for cool pick, they'll come up and they say cool on them or whatever. But they're like a medium thin, or like they're down in that range. And the cool thing about the cool pick is if you drop it on the table, it'll ring out like a horn. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
And
I would imagine that'd be cool for like an acoustic.
I was just gonna say, you play an acoustic guitar with that, and they'll take a $300 acoustic guitar and make it sound like $1,000 acoustic guitar.
Wow,
it's ridiculous.
That's nice, huh?
But you'll go through 2 or 3 of those picks a show because they just fall apart. I mean, they disintegrate.
Like using a bar of soap.
Worse. But I mean, so I have. Let's talk about designer picks for a minute because we're talking about this other thing. Yes, you're absolutely right. Wood would be an awful choice for a pick. Especially anything that really is like, I can't think of a natural substance other than maybe like tortoise shell or something like that, which is now legal.
Yeah, which we all now, and that's a good reason for that.
Yeah. I can't think of a substance like that that's not like that, tusk or, what, and I'm not talking TUSQ.
Right.
Something like that would have the same hardness required to be a guitar pick. Now, I use V-picks, and one of the things that I don't use them exclusively anymore. I used to. One of the things that V-pick touts is that they hold up. I'll say this much: I've worn at least one of my V-picks out. And I have probably 7 or 8 of the triangle mediums. Because they're $6 a piece. Who can afford more than a couple of them? So I can still use these. I mean, they don't have their natural tip, which is a sharp point. Actually, they're probably better than they were when I first got them now. But it's annoying because they say that's one of their big things is like, oh, they last forever, and they don't. I mean, they're a pick, and that's all there is to it. And the other thing is, I noticed the V-picks, they give me so much more pick dust. When they come apart, I have to wipe down the guitar every time I play it. I'm looking at my SG because I was just playing it for Jim a minute ago, and it's got pick dust all over it. And I just cleaned it like the other day. So, I'm not a big like neat freak with stuff like that. I mean, guitars are going to get played, they're going to get mucked up and all that. It's fine. Yep. But it's kind of annoying because, again, that every time you see pick dust, that pick's coming apart. Yeah. So I don't know. The Dunlop, what is the and the ones I use are black. The Tortex or the Gator grip is what I normally use from them. Well, I use other stuff from them too, but the Gator grip, I have the black ones. They still put pick dust everywhere, and they're black. You'd think if they're black, the pick dust would be black. No, it's not.
Right there.
Yeah.
Jazz 3s. Been using them forever. I do not. The only time that I don't have a pick is not because I wore it out. It's because I dropped it. I can't find it. It goes into that pick hell.
The black abyss of picks.
I use the Jazz 3 Stiffos.
Okay.
I also use the Jazz 3s, and I use the Eric Johnson signatures, which is pretty much the Jazz 3s.
Yeah, they're basically the same thing.
Same thing. I'm using, 1 millimeter, I think.
So the reason that I've seen a lot of guys go to these like designer pick brands is because they have problems holding onto a pick. Now I can share some tips on this. I actually used to get the Dunlop, the standard Dunlop gaiters, and then I would take a Dremel and I would shape them to a point. I mean, they would be almost like a triangle. I wish I had one here so I could show you, Jim. Oh, I do. So I would do this to them. See how that's sharpened to a point?
Yep. That's what I do that.
I would do that, and then this one hasn't been fully prepared yet, but I'll take a razor blade, and I will cut a grid pattern into it, and then I will cross cut it, and I'll go pretty deep in it so I can get some pretty good texture on it. In that case, they're from falling out of my hands. This whole like gator grip powder crap, it's bullshit. Doesn't do anything. No. And then the reason I said that some of these guys will go out and buy these picks because they want something to hold in their hand better, and that's a totally valid reason to do that. I will say the V pick, it doesn't have anything in it that would improve grip, but the material itself, when it gets hot, tends to stick better. So
now, which one is that? That's
the V pick.
That's a V pick. Now, again, I don't have any problem. I guess it's just the wording that they etch into it. I don't know why, but the stuff that they etch into the Jim Dunlop USA model. Yeah. I have no problem gripping them, but I probably have a tighter grip than most, which is not good. To take my word for it, you should have a looser grip. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I work on that myself
all the time. Same reason, like when I was playing that keyboard part, as many times I screwed it up, then you get tense. I do. You get tense. You go, geez, I need to hit this again right the next time. And so that tension, you always got to remember. Okay, quit, take a break, let your neck, relax, let your shoulders relax, so on and so forth. Anyway, but as far as picks go, I agree with you. I don't know. Now I know that what's the guy Jackson, Robert Jackson. His channel is backed by Pickers Grip. I might reach out to them and see if they'll send me just a tube of it, because they're here in Virginia.
That just like stuff you put on your fingers to.
Yeah, you put it on your fingers to get it. I knew a guy that, now I can't use the stuff, but there was something that this guy put on his strings to make them so that he could
finger ease.
Have you ever used that stuff?
Hell no.
He swore by it. He was a good player. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a really good, fast player.
But some of that stuff is snake oil, and I've never particularly had the problem with dropping picks, but that's because I do things like the cross hatching, or I'll drill holes in them. That's another thing that I've done and have been very successful with. And these are simple things too. You can make yourself a jig in like 2 minutes, and then just drill holes in every pick you get. You'll never have that problem again.
There are those I know that they just etch. They etch them.
That's what I do.
Just like you're doing.
That's what I do. Or I Swiss cheese them like that.
Yep. Or you Swiss cheese it. Yep. Because that's really what there's a pick company that sells it's almost got a plastic rubbery cover for the pick.
Yep.
I tried them, but I don't feel comfortable using them.
I think a lot of gimmicks. Well, anyway, so if you have a 2-piece pick, you're immediately opening yourself up for problems, because I just don't see how that's going to hold up.
Nope.
And I've also seen companies that sell picks that have been like pre-drilled and stuff. Those are fine. If you can do it yourself, why? I mean, if it takes like 2 minutes to drill a hole, it's not a big deal.
Right.
So.
Right. And you just got to have a hand drill and a little patience and a really small drill bit.
As I've gotten older, and Jim, you've seen my style. Like, I tend to be a pretty aggressive shred player.
Aggressive picker. Yeah, you and I both play aggressively.
And well, I play shred music a lot too. So because of that, that really conflicts with what I'm trying to achieve. So what I found is, in order to get myself to loosen up, I'm going to thicker and thicker picks. Right.
Yep.
So I think I maybe have talked about this on the podcast, but when I started out, I was using thins, and I quickly went to mediums, and then for a long time I used 0.77 millimeter gator grip, right? And I have one right here. This is what I used to use all the time. It's from that batch, and then I went to 2 millimeter gator grip, I think there was another stop in the middle on the way there.
That's a hell of a jump. Yeah.
I think I went to 1 millimeter first and then 2 millimeter. And now I'm at 2.75 or 3.75 in the V pick. And I think the stubbies are 5. And I find that, and the reason for this, and I can demonstrate for you, but for our listeners, if you hold your hand in the natural shape of your hand, like the C shape, your finger spacing between your index finger and your thumb is pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's way more than the depth of a pick, right? So I try to mimic that because that's the natural relaxed position of the hand. And I found that allows me to play longer, and I don't play as stressfully. Like, I don't have to push as hard, and my thumb isn't all flat on the pick. If you're holding your pick and your thumb is like flat on the pick, and I'm not saying like you can't have it like somewhat flat like that, but if it's to the point where you have like a 90-degree angle in your thumb, you're holding the pick wrong.
Now I
it's
see
not wrong, but I mean you're holding it in a way that's going to make it more difficult.
Right. I mean, you saw that Stevie T thing where he showed the different ways musicians hold picks.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You hold your pick. So for the listeners, what's happening is we should probably put a picture up.
Yeah. There
Post picture. David's thumb is flat against the back of the pick, and his 2 fingers are on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, typically it's like this, Jim. That's how it normally is.
I hold mine like this.
Jim is actually holding his pick with the thumb over the top, but it's on the side of his index finger.
Right.
Whereas so my fingers are flat on it.
Right. Where David's thumb is going perpendicular to the along the pointy edge of the pick, and then his 2 fingers are on this side. Mine goes perpendicular to the pointy edge of the pick, and then my
no, that's about,
index finger.
Jim, that's about where I'm at too. The pick sticks out the side about 90 degrees. But what you're noticing that's weird is where my index finger and how it fits in.
Yeah, you put your index finger here.
It's not like this.
It's I can't do that. I had to do this.
Well, that's because I use
I kind of almost use the knuckle of my index finger. It'd be interesting to put a picture up and show our viewers what we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe we should try to do that. And if it's not in the show notes, it'll be in the group, so we can discuss it. So. Yeah,
that's an interesting. We got to get people to take pictures of how they're holding their picks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Everybody, there's the ones that do this. I mean, and you saw the way Michelangelo Badio. I can't believe he doesn't just throw the pick in the air. I would never be able to hold it that way. He's like, whee!
Who is it that's is it?
Was it Hetfield?
No. Well, he's got a weird style too, but the one that everybody always talks about is Marty Friedman.
Oh yeah,
because his pick. So he holds his pick so the tip faces the ceiling.
Yep.
I mean, his arm is completely crooked. I don't know where he got that from, but that's his thing.
Badio, he's using all kinds of muscles. I can't believe he can move that fast.
Yeah, well, so
he's movements.
If you watch any of Troy Grady's work, and I want to get a subscription to him, and I'd like to get him on the show.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Troy Grady has this whole series where he examines the mechanics of how people do this stuff, and you'll find out that what Michelangelo Badio is exaggerating movements so he can be more relaxed. That's what he's doing. So.
I'd like to watch that. I mean, you can find some of them online, but now that he's and rightfully
now that he's
so,
proprietary. Well, I mean, the work he's doing is pretty incredible. So I'll pay for
folks
it.
Watch it. Yeah, there's where he's got the cameras. He has a specially built camera that's not like when they put GoPros on the end of the thing.
No,
on the end of the headstock. He's putting a camera right on the fretboard so that you can watch. It's between the fretting hand and the picking hand.
Yeah, so you can see exactly the pick motion.
Yeah, so it's up at like the 20th fret, and you can see every picking motion. And he does it with high speed camera, so he slows that thing down like a bullet going through a banana.
And you'd think, oh, well, how useful is that? But once you understand the mechanics of how these guys are actually doing some of these things, it does improve your technique.
Yeah,
and it actually allows you to get more control. So his whole big thing is the downward pick slant. And he talks about basically what he means is taking the pick so that it's, parallel to the ceiling and then tilting it like 45 degrees so that it's at an angle that would intersect the ceiling, essentially.
Yep.
And the reasoning for that is, of course, you're reducing the friction of the pick
Right.
and the tip of the pick as it hits the string. And yes, he's absolutely right. That's going to allow you to speed up. But the thing is, it takes away the articulation. So I actually went the other way. I was already downward pick slanting because I'd figured it out a long time ago. And I was like, I need to get away from this because I want the articulation.
Right.
So, but you can learn from it. And that's the point, is that he's showing you these mechanics so you can learn.
Yeah, and the big thing is learning those micro movements to improve your speed. But you kind of have to sit down and you have to go slow. And any speed player, just about any speed player, is going to tell you to play fast, you got to play slow.
All right.
Now I know that there are people that say, well, you got to play fast, you got to play fast. But to play fast, you also have to be able to do the same movements in a controlled environment and then move them quicker.
All right. Can I? And then we're going to switch topics because I really got to step in here. So I hear these guys saying pick fast or pick slow to go fast or play slow to go fast or whatever. Listen, everybody knows. You all remember when you first started playing, and if you can play fast now, great. But you remember, like, man, I really want to be able to do that, and then searching the internet and looking for how do I do this, or asking your buddies or your guitar instructor, like, how do I do this? And what was their answer? It was like some kung fu shit.
Because in 1972,
you must go slow first.
Yeah, well, in 1972, I was like, oh man, all those YouTube videos in 1972.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're asking around, you go to shows and whatever, but it's fucking horse shit. I'll tell you right now. You know, you go fast, you practice. It doesn't matter if you're going fast or going slow. Look, you're gonna fail a fucking lot. It's just the way it is. You need to get the muscle memory down by going slow. But as soon as you get that muscle memory, you blast. Go as fast as you can.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the only way you're going to get faster.
But if your muscle memory is wrong, I'll take this side of the argument.
That's what I said. You got to learn it at the right speed.
Right. Then you can speed it up. Well, but if you have wrong muscle memory, then you're just going to play sloppy anyway. You're just going to be really fast and sloppy. And we all know those players.
And the other part of this that people neglect is that when two things, and one of them should be fairly obvious at this point. How are you going to increase your speed if you're always playing it at 90 beats per minute? Right? If you need to get it to 140, you got to increase it by 90, by 5 beats a minute occasionally so that you can at least get to that level.
Absolutely. And you're going to fail as you get up.
Yeah, that's just part of the exercise. And
as long as you can do it at 90 and do it at 95 and then do it at 100 and do it at 105, then as you get faster, you're going to get better. And yes, at some point you're going to get to the fastest point that you can play.
Well, it's not just that.
It's like running. It's just like anything.
The other real problem I have with this is that they're making the assumption that you're going to build this muscle memory and then you're not going to exercise it and you're not going to be able to go through that machination to get you to the right place. And by saying, "Oh, I'm just going to increase the metronome and I'll just play along with the metronome," that's great. But it doesn't develop your natural rhythm and your natural ability to throw phrases in that don't fit within the current context of what you're doing. So, like, for example, if I'm playing a piece and I got this solo that's more like David Gilmour-esque where I'm going, 70 to 80 beats per minute, lots of big bends, and then I want to throw in this, I don't know, Yngwie-esque lick. Just one part, just so I can have a build-up or something. Look, I got to know how to transition. And by doing those little micro metronome bumps, you're not getting the transition part of it. You're not going from 60 beats per minute, quarter notes to 30-second notes, for example. Like, you're just not doing that. So you have to make those big jumps. And the only way you get fast, really, is going fast. Unfortunately, look, you can build the muscle memory till you're blue in the face, but if you never challenge yourself, you're never going to get there. So I just hate that because it's like this voodoo bullshit when somebody says to go fast, you have to go slow. No, it's voodoo bullshit. Right. You have to practice.
I would totally argue the opposite. I would totally argue the opposite, and I would totally argue the opposite for one reason and one reason alone. If you learn to run wrong, we'll take it out of guitar for just a second. You learn to run wrong. And then you run real fast wrong, you're bound to fall on your face.
But you're never going to recognize your potential if you live under the delusion that you have to do it slow all the time to get it to the right place. That's the problem.
But see, okay,
I'm not going to reward that kind of thinking. That's all I'm saying.
I would give you that side of it. Hey guys, listen, you should see David's face right now.
I'm fucking furious. Dude, I've spent years of my life doing this. I can fucking actually play this shit. Okay? That's the difference here. I hear tons of fucking people out there, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, but I don't fucking see them doing what I'm doing. I don't see them doing what any of these people are doing. When you hear Michelangelo Bedio say it, he always says it in the context of, you gotta use that to build up. But I hear people, and I fucking just saw Robert Baker the other day saying it. Look, you gotta go fast, but by going slow first, and then not giving any context. And it's like, right. Dude, what the fuck? Like, if you're a young, beginning guitar player, you have to give that context. That's why I don't reward that kind of thinking. You say you have to practice. That's all you have to say.
Yes, and that's. I think that's the part that gets left out. See, we're both saying the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can get away without doing it. You do have to, but at some point you have to make that leap and that distinction between, hey, I know how to do this now. Now I have to work on actually getting it up to the level where it needs to be. Absolutely.
Now, okay, so that would be like if somebody was to take that argument, and I'm talking about the opposite of what you're trying to say. Someone was to say that, then every time they would run slow first. That wouldn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Once you can run fast, you run fast. Once you can jump hurdles, you jump hurdles, and you jump them faster and faster, faster and faster.
Exactly. And
once you can throw a ball, if you see the guys out there playing football and running routes, they run routes in the beginning. They're warming up. They're going slow, but when they get fast, they get fast and they stay fast. And the only time they slow down was when they're purposely trying to lose somebody. So yes, I see your point. Once you get there, you shouldn't be slow. Now maybe to learn a part, like you're learning Flight of the Bumblebee. Maybe, yeah, you got to go, and you got to...
Yeah, because it's a complicated series of notes, but once you've got that series of notes down, you're done.
Then go. Right, but your slow becomes somebody else's fast at that point. What you thought was slow, or what you thought was fast 2 years ago, is now blinding speed.
Well,
but now you're sitting there going... Oh, this is so slow, but I got to get it right. You're going,
yeah.
But 2 years ago, you were like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that
we're saying the same thing.
They're always, they're very careful to say, you can do this quickly by spending a lot of time doing it. But they don't give you the idea of how much time that is. And that's what ticks me off, is they make it out like, oh, well, if you do it this way, it's the easy path. Look, there ain't no fucking easy path to this. Now, I will tell you this. I didn't learn the same way everybody else did, where it's like, okay, I'm going to play, this scalar pattern, and I'm going to do it ascending, descending, and then I'm going to do it with upstrokes and then downstroke. I'm going to do it starting on an upstroke, starting on a downstroke, and then do it all alternate picked. First thing I learned was economy picking, which is this idea that I'm not going to move my shit that much. And then the second thing I learned was tremolo picking. And once I realized I could tremolo pick and I could get my left hand moving in sync with my other hand, everything fell into place. So I was able to do alternate picking, like decent speed runs pretty quickly within 2 or 3 years of me picking up the instrument. But I spent a lot of time developing the complexity to be able to jump strings and all that stuff in between later. And that stuff didn't come immediately. But I'm just saying, like, for the vast majority of like beginning guitar players who are like, man, I really want to be able to do some of this stuff and like get the gateway to, feeling like I've accomplished something. You can do that in a very, very straightforward manner and not necessarily even have to practice it the way that they're making out like. Now, granted, if you want to be able to play like, those crazy shred leads like right out of the gate, you're going to be doing a lot of woodshedding and you're going to be running those scales and you're going to be doing that kind of stuff. But I think it's a misnomer to make an assumption that like everybody learns the same way, and that maybe a lot of people and I've heard this said before too, which is like you approach the guitar and you have these individual muscle groups that you've never exercised to play the instrument that you're gonna build up. The guy who's I'm trying to think who just said that the other day that I was watching on YouTube, but basically it's the idea that like, oh well, you've never developed these muscle groups. That's not necessarily true. It depends on what you do. I mean, Some people sit at a computer all day and use their fingers all day long to type shit.
Right.
Piano players often make really good guitar players because they already have some of the musical background, and then they sit down at a guitar, and it's basically very similar motions in a lot of ways. Now, granted, you're not doing bends and stuff like that, but I could see how there's a transitional element there that kind of works out.
Horn players.
Yeah, I mean, I started on a trumpet, and I could definitely see like some similarities between pressing down the valves on a trumpet and playing notes. Granted, that did not prepare me for playing guitar. Like none of those things really did.
But there are certain things that also we get to think about. If you're a one finger typist, you're a one finger keyboard player. It's a different thing. But if you're a multi-finger typist and you're a multi-finger keyboard player, then that definitely makes sense, because we also learned another thing that a lot of people don't learn, and it's not necessarily a muscle; it's a way of thinking, and that's individuality of the
how
fingers.
To separate the motion of the fingers, and there's a muscular component to that too.
Yes,
and that definitely comes from things like typing and keyboard playing. But so the other thing I wanted to say about this whole like mantra of going slow to go fast, and these kinds of methods. So if anybody is familiar with trade skills and the way that they were taught and stuff, and prior to the early 1900s, where you'd have the apprenticeship thing, this is almost a holdover to when like some layperson would come up to a locksmith and say, "Well, how do you do that?" And the locksmith would make up some bullshit voodoo to keep the guy from being able to figure it out. And honestly, I think this is like, I agree with you. This is the cool kids making up some sort of like cool slang to make it seem like it's, to make it seem like they're wiser than they are. And that's what frustrates me, is I think that if we're teaching people to play guitar, especially in the climate that we're in, where we're talking about declining guitar, whether that's actually happening is completely up to everybody's debate. But if that's really a thing, and we're all concerned about making sure that the next generation is able to play the instruments, we need to break down these barriers. We definitely need to be like, look, it's just practice and like, and a little bit of hard work, and it pays off if you do it the right way. Here's the right way. And stop coming up with these like secrets of shred videos. The one I was watching from Robert Baker, that's the one so I was cleaning up my my music studio, and YouTube happened to be on. And I saw it over in the sidebar, and I'm like, oh, I got to click on this. And so I clicked on it, and it started running, and I just like started shaking my head. But it was funny because there was an exercise in the middle of it that he did. He said Paul Gilbert had showed it to him at some point or whatever. So I picked up my SG that was on the wall, and I learned the exercise real quick. And he's like, if you can play it at this speed, then he's like you're in good shape. And I just blazed right through it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm better than I thought I was.
You're gonna have to send me a link to that video.
Yeah. I'll post it in the show notes if I can find it in my history. But as things have happened lately, shit tends to disappear.
Well, so I'm lucky enough that I'm always logged into my YouTube account whenever I use YouTube, so I've always got it in my history. But anyway, I think that. Is that most people probably already know. You've got to be careful, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. When somebody goes, I've got the secret of playing.
Ain't no fucking secret. You can watch guys on stage.
$29.95 to this. I'll tell you what the secret of playing fast is. Play.
Yeah.
Fucking play. Jeez, play.
Well,
and then play it faster, and then play it faster.
For any of our beginning listeners, people who are like, just learning about our show and stuff. Anybody who's just beginning the guitar or anything like that, who may stumble across this, because this is going to be on in perpetuity. I think if you're looking at this kind of stuff and you really want to know what you got to do, look, and this applies not just to music, but this applies to any skill that you have to develop, and that is you need to put the hours in. If you want to develop a skill, you're not going to just suddenly wake up and be so talented that you can do it. You have to spend the hours. And then what they talk about, the mastery principle or whatever it is, like in order to master 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. I mean, I hit my 10,000.
That's 3 years, guys. 10 years.
Yeah, I hit my 10,000 hours just recently. I mean, just recently. I've been playing 15 plus years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't. If you play 3 hours a day every day for 10 years, that's 10 years. So that's, I mean, some guy did the math. I don't remember what his name is. And there's a book called The Outliers. I've actually got it in order. Um, and I recommend at least looking at that idea. Um, what's his name? Uh, yeah, crap. Rick something or other. I watch a lot of his videos now.
Beato.
You know, I've got a senior moment going on, folks. Beato, that's it, Rick Beato. He's got a thing where he talks about the 10,000 hours and he says, "Is it bullshit?" And the thing is that some stuff is bullshit, but I would argue with him in that what he's got is he says, "Oh, it took me this long to learn this, but it took me this long to learn that, but it took me this long." What we were talking about with the keyboard thing, and we were talking about with the, you can take these things and bring them to guitar, or you can take them from guitar and bring them to keyboard. You're learning on that new thing doesn't start from zero now because you've got some of the basics of it. It's just the 10,000 hour thing is you've got zero to infinity in 10,000 hours. That's what they're talking about. So
yeah, I would have hit because I'm doing the calculations in my head, like based on what my practice schedules used to look like, and I probably hit it 5 years ago, right around 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
I don't consider myself a master, but
no,
allegedly by the mastery principle, I am. So anyway, Jim, we got other fun topics that are not going to involve me getting into a yelling match. Let's move on.
Switching topics. So let's hope that I don't piss David off again. Here we go.
That was mostly a semantic argument anyway.
So I have a Facebook friend who's now part of the group who mentioned that he had ordered a I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Who ordered a guitar that was through a small builder in Southern California, and he's paid everything but one payment, and he'll make that payment in the next couple weeks. And he hasn't received any information about his guitar, and he's kind of ticked. And I think we went over this with Kiesel. So I don't want to point out the guitar company just yet, but there was a video up.
Yeah, let's wait and see how this plays out before we start shaming people.
Right. But I do want to say this. Somebody did shame them and then took it back down. So I want to talk about the YouTube community again, because it was a YouTuber that put up this shaming video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Oh yeah, they're saying that they've got these guitarists that are endorsed, and all they're doing is selling them a guitar and saying you're endorsed. We're endorsing you. They're charging full price for a guitar and endorsing you." And then he got the builder, who I've reached out to see if he'll come on our podcast, and he asked about that endorsement thing. And the builder, I did see both of the YouTube videos, the interview and the first one. Now they're gone, so I won't talk about the YouTuber that did it. But I will say that's kind of irresponsible. Again, that's why I'm not calling this person out. Now, if it did happen, and if it is happening, that's one thing. Because the one guy has told this dude that he said, "Oh yeah, I've been waiting 15 months." Well, they've only been back in business 16 months. So I highly doubt that somebody's paid full price. I mean, there's got to be something else in there that we're not hearing the whole truth, and that type of thing. So
yeah, well, so these small builders, right?
Yep.
They get extremely annoyed by people calling them up every 10 minutes and being like, "When's my guitar done?
Right?
When's my guitar going to be done?" Now, they kind of in some cases, and it sounds like they
set themselves up for that.
They set themselves up for that by saying, "Okay, you can give me a deposit, and then you pay this amount each month until it's done, and then I'll send it to you." Like, you know what I mean? You set yourself up for that because the guy's got to know. He wants to know when his guitar is going to be done, so he knows when he has to pay it off. Because usually, what happens when you have those kinds of situations is people buy an instrument and then totally plan on paying it as they go and don't actually have the money up front.
Right.
I know because I do the same fucking thing. But that also
We all
means
do.
that I want to make sure the guy gets paid. So
Right.
my whole thing is like, when's it going to be done, guys? I need to know so I can make sure I have the money in my account for you. Like, that's, we're musicians. We live on tight shoestring budgets. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right, but the way this company is doing it, they're taking payments, and even if the guitar isn't done, they're getting full payment.
Yeah, and so that's what irritates me. But again, so you have to know this going in with a builder that you're putting some risk out. It always is going to happen that way. You should have some sort of paperwork that backs you up. All right.
Yeah.
But you also know, and we've all seen and heard these horror stories about companies that fold.
Yeah.
And so you have to be understanding that if I'm entering in and buying a $3,000, guitar from a builder, I am putting my money where my mouth is and hoping that, that the guy doesn't go under.
Yep.
And your only recourse at that point is to sue him for bankruptcy, and you're not going to get shit. You're going to get pennies on the dollar.
You'll be lucky. Yeah, you'll be lucky to get $20
if you get anything.
Yep.
So
that's the norm because people stand in line when a company goes into bankruptcy court. You get in line.
Yeah,
to get that money.
And anybody who's owed more gets more first. And it's and if they're going to continue to operate business, that plays in too because it means that they have to pay off certain people. Now, the funny thing about that is I've been through a company that actually went through a bankruptcy, and when they did it, they thought they would be able to pick and choose who their suppliers would be based on like who they could pay. Well, the court told them you can't pay anybody shit. We're going to tell you where you're putting your money. You're not allowed to pay anybody anything.
Yep.
So, it's all the court. The court decides everything at that point, which is kind of crappy when you think about it. But it's also, that's the way it should be. You've obviously mismanaged your money, and so
now the court's going to help you.
Yeah, you need to be penalized for it. And so that's fine. Like, I get it. And as far, I've never been in a builder situation where I've risked a lot of money. Having a custom built guitar, you can go to big companies and get that done. And it's not an insane amount of money if you go to the right companies and you're not looking for some really ostentatious details.
Well, one of the other things that this company promised, which I thought was odd, was they promised a full 4-day pass to NAMM for their endorsees. I'm putting air quotes out for people to endorsees.
Yeah, and see,
so that's kind of like buying your 4-day pass to NAMM, and no one company can give any more than X number of 4-day passes.
It depends on how many passes they apply for. Because I think if you go to NAMM, so Press gets a certain amount of passes.
Yes.
They know that they are probably estimating based on their demand how many passes they will receive and will need. So if they get, let's say they get 10 passes or 12 passes, and they know that they only have 6 endorsees and they got 2 orders waiting, they figure, well, between now and then, I'm not going to get an extra 4.
Well, I'm gonna message you the amount of money that was charged for this guitar.
Yeah, because we won't talk about that.
And
that's not much.
That is not much, which means that there's a lot of people that can afford that, and there are people who will pay that just to get to NAMM because that's their mecca.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I will say this right now. I would be highly suspect of said suspect company for buying Squires and doing refinishing work at that amount of money, folks. This is custom guitar money, but it's not. Yeah. It's not what you normally pay, which suggests to me that this is a we'll take parts from somebody else and make them look better, or
now, I'm not saying
maybe feel better.
I'm not saying that that's what this company is doing, but if I wanted to make shred guitars, for instance, and I thought, okay, you know what, I gotta meet a certain demand. I could get bodies built overseas, sent to me, and then for pictures, put a router on them and a sander on them.
Yeah,
and then boom, I go.
All right.
Because what are the 2 most expensive parts of putting a guitar together?
The neck. The neck is easily the most expensive. And then, of course, the body and the routing and the shaping and all that's usually pretty pricey.
So if you just fake up some of that and then finish it, because it depends on your finish quality. You can dip them.
Perfect example is Nash, right?
Yep.
Nash makes. I mean, they get their bodies. I forget who they're getting their bodies and their necks from. They don't make their own bodies and necks. They made that very clear. They're very, very public about it. They do the relicking. They do a fantastic job setting those guitars up.
Yep.
And now you know what? We're talking about Nash. We're gonna talk about this too. They do a fantastic job setting the guitars up, and then they resell them for like $2,000, right?
Right.
Like between $2,000 and $3,000. I don't think there's any Nashes I've seen that are any higher than that. Now, Nash gets a really bad rep, okay? And people are like, oh, well, if I could go buy a body and a neck from Warmoth and pay $200 to get it set up, professionally and get it plecked. Listen, that's not all that goes into a Nash.
Nope.
Okay? Number one, the finish work and stuff, like in a lot of cases, that's a nitro finish, and they're spraying it the real way, and they're relicking that guitar using, the actual methods that you should use to relic a guitar, which is not drag it behind your truck. It is spray it down with liquid nitrogen, do hand checking and stuff with a razor blade, and to to remove the finish in the right way, to press dirt into it with an actual physical press to make it look like you pressed and absorbed your fluids into it. Gross. And that's, look, I get it. That process costs money, and it ain't cheap. I can take my guitar. There's a couple places here in Chicago that'll do quality relicking like that. They won't touch anything that's not nitro, and they have a very high price tag. We're talking $500 for a relic,
right?
And they look great. They look like the real deal. And if that's what you need, then that's where you go. But my point is that Nash gets a bad rap because all they do is a setup and a relic job. Yep. They do a lot more than that. There's more to it than that. You can go on Craigslist and get yourself a half-ass setup and a relic job. We've all seen them. Belt sand the forearm contour, and there you go. There's your relic.
Now, yeah, and again, I'm not saying that this company is or isn't doing that. What I'm saying is, it would be easy for them to get Jackson or Jackson or Kramer or whatever copies from overseas. You've got a copy sitting right behind you.
Yeah,
an identical copy.
Shing's right over here.
Yep. If you took all the other stuff off of it, it'd be a Les Paul. And
yeah, right.
And then you could. Well, you know what I mean.
It sounds like a Les Paul.
You could, now it does.
Yeah, that fucking sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I should play that thing for you. Yeah.
Before it sounded like it sounded awful. But anyway, yeah, that's my point is, if I was to pay that much money, the number I gave you, I just would be suspect that that's not a real made in USA handmade guitar, not over a certain number of months. If you break that down into hours and amount of money made on the guitar, because you've got to put money into the guitar, you've got to pay people to work. I just don't see that being a lot of money. I just doesn't make any sense to me.
There's a company, I can't remember what the name of it is, Black something. That they are an import brand, right? Like they buy Squires, they sand the logos off, and then they do some relicking, and I think they actually strip the bodies and then refinish them in nitro and then relic them, but I could be wrong on that. Right. And they're getting $700 or $800 for a guitar. So
yeah,
that's if they're buying an Infinity Strat and stripping and all that. Like I could see $700 or $800. And you know what? And if that's what you need, fine. An Infinity Strat will be fine if you put the right electronics into it and it's not a dog shit body to begin with.
Right. Now, there's a company out west, out in California. I don't know if they're still around, that were making guitars out of skateboards.
Yeah. Prisma guitars.
But those things are $4,000.
Prisma guitars. Yeah, because they ain't fucking around. Those guitars are some serious business.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to get my hands on one and
Me too.
just to play it.
Just to play it. Yep. Same here. It's one of the only like hippie guitars that I would consider, but not for that kind of money.
So they're not that bad. So they start at $2,500.
Yeah.
And they make a couple of models for like 27.
They've come down in price a lot then.
Yeah.
When I looked into them, they were relatively new.
Yeah, I think he streamlined a lot of his processes because he was on 60 Cycle Hum a while back. He actually came down to the show and recorded with them. It was a really good interview, and he talked about how he'd injured himself, and I think he's got some help in the shop now too, which is helping to make this all possible. But he's admitted, and he's got. You can look on his site. He does have some guitars listed for like $3,500. These are totally. If I was doing my psychedelic thing, like this would be right up my alley.
Yep. It's totally cool looking stuff.
They look like fucking tie-dye. It's hilarious.
Amazing looking guitar. And no two are going to ever be alike.
I want a total flower child guitar. Like I want like an SG with like flowers and shit on it, and like the Monterey pop like style like finish on it and shit.
That Diavolo,
you're looking at the Diavolo.
That's the one I looked at before. I was like, yeah, that's freaking awesome looking.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool looking.
That's cool beyond cool. But let me tell you, most people would think they're stacking the skateboards like long way towards the neck. No, they're stacking them this way.
Yeah, they're
short way.
They're like sandwiched.
There's like a ton of skateboards.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and the thing is, like, if you know anything about skateboard construction, that's a great way to do it because it's laminated anyway. Yep. So you're getting a guitar that's like basically glue. These things got to be heavy as fuck because they're basically glue. They're basically glue. They got to be weight relieved. He's got to be doing some weight relief something to him. Yep. Because there's no way you can play. You couldn't play. There's so much glue in that. It'd be like it would be like playing IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
But
I know that I priced one out by doing the
his custom build thing.
Yeah, his custom build thing, and it pretty much came out like that. It was crazy expensive because you start with like a relatively plain thing, but you've got the F holes and you've got everything else. If I went with it, it'd be pretty expensive. But anyway, I mean,
I want a fucking Strat style body, man. Like, what the hell? He doesn't offer a Strat.
Yeah, my point is, if you're going for a custom build, you're in the $2,000 category.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting a parts guitar called a custom build, which it is. I mean, you're speccing your own stuff, but it's still like it's more of a mass produced style guitar than you're caring to admit. Like, I don't tell anybody my G&L S500 is a custom built guitar, but it is built to my spec because I asked for certain things on it and I got them. That's basically the way I look at it. And right now, as we're in Year of No Gear, if I were to order a guitar myself, I would probably just break down and go get another G&L. I would get a humbucker single with stainless steel frets, no pick guard. I want direct mount. And basically the same thing as I'm looking at from the Ibanez AZ series, and I can do it cheaper. But I'm not gonna do that. This is the Year of No Gear, and I'm committed. So, and I'm committable.
Yeah, you're gonna be committed at the end of this thing.
Oh fuck, dude, you have no idea. I need fucking Alcoholics Anonymous like bad for fucking gear. Like seriously, I'm thinking about starting a Facebook group, Gearholics Anonymous. Where those of us who have like gotten into trouble and like need to stop can go and talk to each other, and we can have like sponsorship and a 12-step program and all that. Because I need a higher power at this point. I need it.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you.
Mesa in the middle of this has to drop the fucking Fillmore. Like, what are they doing to me? What are they doing to me, man?
Isn't that Fillmore awesome? So, well, anyway, I just wanted you guys to, maybe pipe up and say, yeah, I've done a custom build or I've seen a custom build. And
yeah, if you had experience with the custom build, sure, reach out to us. I mean, I've had pedals built for me, and I've bought several waitlisted pedals. I bought several waitlisted pedals before. Which reminds me, I need to check my mail because my King of Tone is coming up. Which,
Should be.
Yeah, which I ordered that 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
now that is one of the little gray areas of Year of No Gear, folks. I had ordered mine back in 2015 or something.
He ordered that before we even started doing this podcast.
Before I was aware that Jim is an angry old man and we get along.
Before he even knew my name.
I don't know. I have a good memory for that shit. Like I see people in 60 Cycle and other groups and stuff, and I see you and like I was seeing other names, and it's like I know that person from somewhere. Like I didn't necessarily know everything about him, but
who's that crazy old man?
I'm a fucking internet stalker. Don't tell anybody I said that.
But anyway,
we're podcasting, aren't we?
You know, the point is that what we're getting at is David is not breaking the rules with that at all.
No. We had talked about that, and actually, if you go back to the first episode where we suggested Year of No Gear, which I believe was something like the hardest year, the longest year.
The longest year.
Yeah, if you go back and you listen to that episode, I believe it was suggested in that episode that if I get the King of Tone, like I've been waiting for it anyway. So is the Sunface.
Yeah, the other one.
I think the Sunface was talked about in that episode
too. Yeah, the Sunface. Yeah, the Sunface and the King of Tone.
Well, we were talking about, so if I didn't like the King of Tone, then I would sell it and I would get the NKT Sunface. Right. Did I talk about it in the show? Being able to play the NKT?
No.
Oh,
you haven't.
We gotta back the fuck up then.
On the show.
All right. So we're at an hour. I'm gonna spend an extra 20 minutes. You guys get 20 minutes extra for the Labor Day week and all that. So I went to Good Time Music, and this leads me to another thing, is I probably didn't tell everybody that I went back to play the Fillmore. So I went back to Good Time Music, I think it was last weekend, to play the Fillmore. I think it was Friday. I don't think it was, because I have Fridays off occasionally, or I have Mondays off occasionally, depending on how things are going. So I went, and I went into the store, and I plugged into the Fillmore, and I brought my Sunface with me, because like anything I get has to be able to play with the Sunface. I'm not even going to bother if I can't. And I found that it does extremely well. So I was playing for a while. I got to play the Silver Sky while I was there. I know we talked about that on the show. But while I was there, another dude comes into the store, and he's like, "Is that a Sunface?" Now I thought, and he's probably a listener now, so I'm just going to say this. I'm not trying to insult you if you're a show listener at this point, but I thought, because he's like looking at my gear like he's walking around, and I never recognized. Like I know most of the guys that come in that shop pretty regularly, and he's walking around and kind of looking what I got, and I'm like trying to pack up, and I'm like, I got to keep everything all secure because I don't know what this is all about, and he comes over to me, he goes, "Is that a Sunface?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I got one too," and he pulled his out. Now his had to be like 10 years old. Okay, it looked like it had been through hell. It was completely caked in dirt and like grime, and the old Sunface finishes, because they're gold, I don't think they had any clear coat on them, so they just like absorbed any kind of grime and garbage that was around the environment. Well, so as it happens, he goes, "What transistors do you have in yours?" I said, "Mine's the new RCA." He says, "I have an NKT." I said, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "You mind if I try your RCA?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." So I stood there and watched, and we lined them both up. We ran them into the Fillmore, and we switched back and forth. And honestly, so in the room, like when I was standing there, I was like, "Oh, well, I think there's some subtle differences." But I think they were so effing subtle, it's not even worth it. I don't need another Sunface. If I do, it's a backup for the one I have. Yes, the NKT is worth a lot of money. And actually the one he had turned out to be a white dot, which is worth even more money. But the white dot and the RCA are virtually identical for all intents and purposes.
So why is the white dot worth more money?
So the white dot's more rare. Those transistors are more rare. Those are the holy grail transistor, according to Mike. That those are the ones that were likely used in a lot of Jimmy's pedals, and also that those are the ones that sound the best and that clean up the best and have the most clarity, but still retain the warmth and all that. I would say my RCA easily went toe to toe. If anything, my RCA had maybe a little bit more clarity, which, depending on how your personal perception and opinion is on it, you may not want that. You may want that. It's different flavors of ice cream. I mean, it's still ice cream. It's still really good, but it's just different flavors. So, and it's very, very close flavors. Like chocolate and then like dark chocolate or something. No, that's even too distinct. Like,
yeah, no, yeah.
It was different, but it wasn't different. It wasn't really that different.
Right.
I could definitely see like getting another RCA and having it have the same minute differences, and it just being like totally up to Analog Mike's perception of how he specs these things, and not so much about what transistors are in it, but so much about what he, brings to the table in terms of his selection process. So the cool thing is, I have an RCA Sunface, which I paid like $250 for total, I think, shipped, right? He probably paid that initially. It may have been cheaper at the time because it was probably ordered 10 years ago. But his pedal is worth like $800 now. Whereas my pedal is still only worth about $200. So, it's kind of cool that like you luck out on certain things and they're worth a lot more money than you anticipate. I don't look back at my Sunface and think I should have done anything different. If anything, it makes me realize that I don't necessarily need anything different. Now, I would like to have a high gain one. The one I have is medium gain, but if I went back to Analog Mike, I'd say, what do you got that's germanium with intense gain? And just let him pick for me. Because I honestly don't, if I was going to do it, like, I don't want the cleanup. I don't want, like, this pedal is just for rocking, and, I don't know. I've been considering doing that, but of course that's going to have to wait. So,
you can't break any rules unless Analog Mike feels the need to let you try one.
Since I talked about giving an extra 15 minutes, I played the Pinnacle Deluxe for you, the V2. What was your thoughts in just the little clips you heard via Skype? I mean, I know the audio quality is not great, but
yeah. So my take on the Pinnacle Deluxe was that it's a little over the top for classic rock. But if you're looking for that Ozzy Osbourne or and not Ozzy Osbourne,
like classic metal.
Classic metal, right?
If you're into like Twisted Maiden, Sister or
an Iron Maiden tribute band, that would work.
Oh, I have a dude that would probably dig this thing. I have somebody in mind.
For Iron Maiden.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was thinking about maybe using the Trooper as one of the riffs I demo it. Yep. And I'll probably play it in the style that I played it in the group. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you mean the jazz style?
Yeah, I don't think I would ever do that to anybody. And the funny part is if I did that and like sang it in a jazzy style, like Bobby Darin or something like that.
Right. Yeah. You take my life and I'll take yours too. You fire that musket and I'll run you through.
Now I just need a martini and oh God. So, I had intended to demo the Pinnacle Deluxe V2. It's not a new pedal.
Yeah, you should.
I'm probably going to do it. I'm probably going to do it in the easiest way possible, which is just so I can get it out the door. And then I'm going to send it off to you, or I will sell it to a lucky person. And that'll be that. The money will, fortunately, go back into my gear fund.
Yep.
If I give it to Jim might be. It might behoove Jim to give me a gift if I send him my Pinnacle V2.
So it kind of sucks because I'm really not using. I'm not in a position where I'm using.
I honestly don't think this pedal would do much for you, Jim, because you have the amp one, number one, which can do these sounds, and you have.
I have the Paisley.
So there's one function. Honestly, there's one function on this pedal I really, really like, but it's not worth the entire cost of this pedal, and that is the boost. The effing boost on this pedal is great. And it's literally on the pedal. It's the right stomp switch, and I got the pedal in front of me. You can probably hear me unplugging the jack so I can look at it. And there's one knob for it, and it's boost. And the funny part about it is you don't hit unity gain until you're 2/3 of the way up. But between 2/3 and full, there's a lot of character there, and it's basically, from my understanding, it's basically a tube screamer. But it seems like there's less dry guitar blended with it, which makes it, and it makes it for me. It makes it a lot more usable. That's one of my gripes. Why, and part of the reason why you're getting this free, lovely Tube Screamer Mini is because it blends too much clean signal. I know some guys love that, and it's probably great for pushing an amp, but for just playing around the house and that's just not the sound I'm after. If I kick an overdrive, I want my whole signal to crunch, So,
well, I'm going to be sending you. I meant to send it last week, but I'm going to be sending you my Blues driver. So that's going to come out of the board this week and go out to you.
I'm going to demo it. I'm going to demo it for Jim here, and then hopefully.
For our regular listeners, it's been modded by Brian Wampler, so it's going to.
You know what's probably going to make you laugh,
It's
Jim?
not a Blues driver.
I would laugh my ass off because you've been calling it a fuzz, but I would laugh my ass off if it's just like the Pinnacle, because I understand all his amp in the box pedals are somewhat. They owe some debt of gratitude to the Blues driver. They're heavily modded, totally redesigned Blues driver circuits. So it would be really funny if we get it and we compare it. It's the same fucking thing.
You might want to hold on to the Pinnacle.
I'm thinking about that now because we're talking about this. I'm I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, because then you can say, okay, here's a fuzz face, here's a Pinnacle.
It's the Blues driver Pinnacle mod,
I'm telling you, man, because that thing gets fuzzy as shit. I'm oh, geez.
But I gotta say this Tube Screamer. You will get use out of this thing because that will go great with your Amp 1. Although you get the boost on there, but just for playing around the house and stuff, to have this kind of drive sound in front of it. Because if you're using anything that has a lot of bass, I know you like bass. For solo tones, the Tube Screamer is the way to go because it cuts the bass out and it pushes your mids, so you just pop right in the mix.
Right.
That's why they're they're so heavily used. Actually, metal guys love them because they take all the bass and they tighten it up. And what they don't understand, or at least I think they do understand it, but what they don't tell you when they're like, oh yeah, I'll use Tube Screamer to tighten it up, is it tightens it up because you're just dropping bass off. You have so much bass going into the amp. You can do the same thing with an EQ.
It's because the metal, the typical metal guy, not every metal guy, is got the smiley face on his EQ. So then they put the Tube Screamer in there. What's that do? It takes the bass.
Yeah, dude. All right. So I realized this a long time ago. We're an hour and 12. I want to keep it under 20. I realized this a long time ago when I was playing around with the idea of how do you emulate good guitar sounds, right? And using solid state amps because I was cheap and poor. I was a student. Yeah. I would take my Vox. I have a Pathfinder. It's on the floor right next to me. I'm putting my hand on it right now. And it's a 15-watt solid state combo, no reverb, nothing fancy. And the weird thing about the Vox Pathfinder combo is that it has a really good clean sound, and a lot of people like them. In fact, I know there's a video of some studio pro pushing it with an EP booster and getting some outrageously good sounds. But what I found out really, really quickly, because it has kind of a pushed midfield, almost a little bit Marshall-y, not terribly though, a little bit flatter than that, but it's got a lot of treble, and I hated that. So what I found out right away was if I take an EQ and I put a smile or I put a frown curve in it, it took care of everything. I was like, damn, sounds great now. And I found very quickly afterwards, playing through friends like Fender combos and stuff, you could do the exact opposite. Well, no, Fender combos take that back. Like your Marshall style amps, right? You can do the exact opposite. You can put the V curve in there, and as you're pushing the front end, it changes the characteristics of the amp in such a way that it's very pleasing. So it was almost like do the opposite of what your amp does. Like that's the way to run an EQ into the amp, and then you'll get really good results. Like your mileage may vary, but it's something to try. And I found
tell you that when I was younger, every EQ I ever used was the frowny face.
Yeah, because you want to push mids, right?
Right. And so sometimes, if you were, of course, this was back before the days that everybody had a subwoofer.
But you're more of a Fender amp guy, though, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's why. Because like when you hear a song on the radio and it's played through a Marshall, like your Fender doesn't sound right, so you put the EQ in front of it and bump the mids.
Right.
So you're putting the mids back in. No,
Yep.
it makes sense. Like it's not stupid. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's.
So
I never said I was stupid, but
no,
okay.
no. Well, I'm Jim,
I'm just messing with you.
I was just thinking it. No.
No. Yeah. I always put the mids back in, and it was probably because of a result, like you said, of that sound.
You realize,
especially when you were listening to country music,
you realize very quickly that whatever you're pushing your guitar signal through, like you can compensate for what the guitar amp wants to hear, and that goes back to like the Mark V tone stack, where every tone control is basically just a volume knob for how much of that frequency hits the first tube or whatever, so that it's essentially a volume knob. And if you think about it in that sense, you can do a lot of damage, not damage, but you can make your Mark V sound really good if you have an EQ out front, because then you can kind of play with, all right, so I know the amp doesn't like the low end and it gets really muddy at these frequencies, so I can drop the bass below 100 hertz pushing into the amp, and that's going to give me something out. Same principle I use with the S500s that I play, which has the passive treble bass control through fuzz pedals, because any distortion pedal is going to operate like an amp, including fuzz, in the sense that it expects certain frequencies, and if it gets too much or too little of them, it's going to cause the fuzz to do weird things. And as we know, bass is usually the big problem with a lot of these things, because bass has more energy. So it's easier to drive an amp if you're pushing more bass. So if you can control your low end, I mean, that's mastery right there. And so I would be lying if I said the reason that I play S500s is because they're good with fuzz pedals. That is a happy accident. And once I realized that, I was like, I don't want any other strat. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to take the controls out and gut them, and I'm going to put in a PTB system like what Gino has, because that allows me to control what the amp on the other end sees. And then I can have any pickup in the world that I want in that guitar, and provided I would rather be getting more frequencies and be able to roll them off than to not have those frequencies available.
Right.
And that's a problem, especially with the S500 design. I mean, it eats amps for breakfast. I have played a lot of amps where the cabinets vibrate to shit, and the it'll show you if you have microphonic tubes. It'll show you if you have cold solder joints, because it will make the whole amp vibrate like a motherfucker. And it just has a lot of sub 100 hertz content, so you got to be aware of that when you're using it. PTB system. Roll down that bass knob, set it and forget it. Like, as soon as the first thing I do is I hit a low E chord, and then I literally put my pinky on that knob and I roll it back to where it sounds good, and I leave it. And that's exactly the way that, like, I approach those sorts of situations. Now, their treble, actually, those pickups have way more treble too, but the treble roll off is actually contoured differently than your standard tone control. So you can use that, do the same thing, roll it back to 7, and you're good. But the funny thing is, those guitars don't come standard with, they don't have numbers on the knobs. If you buy one from USA, they're dome knobbed.
Yeah, great.
So I have not done this yet. I have every intention of doing it. I'm going to put a little bit of tape on there, just so I can see where the indicator's at.
Yeah, I used to put a little marker on it, just a little indelible.
Yeah, well, I think marker would probably be a better option. I may just use a little bit of Sharpie and just draw a line, so only I can see it.
Yep.
And then nobody else can see it. And I need to get. So my other one has the top hat knobs with the numbers on it. I'm pulling those. I'm putting the dome knobs on it. It's like hanging on my wall in my bedroom, and I stare at it every night, and I'm like, there's something wrong about this guitar. It needs the fucking domes on it.
Yep.
And it's totally a functional upgrade. It's not an aesthetic upgrade, people. Because those dome knobs actually do something. Yes, they're knurled, so you can bump them and they turn.
Yeah, I want to get knurled knobs for my SE, my PRS SE.
Do black. Do black if you're going to do it. Do something that matches the guitar.
Oh yeah, I'll probably get the ones that are on the USA one. I'll just see if I can fit them on there. The knobs can't be expensive.
So here's where I'm at with next guitar purchase. Ibanez AZ, you know, and here and the one you're gonna laugh about is the last I'm gonna say. Ibanez AZ, GNL, CE is still a possibility. And the last one is a Harley Benton.
Oh man. All
right.
See?
Here's what's killing. Here's what's gonna kill you, Jim. So I'm looking at the Fusion, right? And the Fusion comes with a two post trim instead of a Floyd Rose. So I'm like, this is an Ibanez AZ for like $150 or well, not for like $350, right? Plus shipping. It's stainless steel frets. Yeah. I believe it's a baked maple neck. It is a I don't know what body it is, but it's got a veneer on it. But here's what's holding me back. Number one, I don't like the body shape. Number two, the fucking veneer. It's this absurd looking quilt, and they only make it in 3 colors, which is like puke, shit, and like bloody shit. Okay, so it's like I don't know. I don't think I could do this. I don't
puke, shit, and bloody shit.
But honestly, awesome. If I bought one and I refinished it, I could probably play this thing. Oh, although I'd have to get it plecked because there's no way it's gonna fucking play right. No way in hell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a disaster. But for $350, I could put $200 into it or $300 and get plecked and maybe get it refinished for $500. And there's my. See, at that point though, that's $500 plus a $350 guitar. It's $850. It's still $500 cheaper than the Ibanez.
Well, maybe that's what you need to do rather than the Ibanez.
But then I gotta add pickups and change the electronics. Oh, never mind. I should just buy the Ibanez, right?
Yep. You should have learned your lesson with that unicorn.
I did learn my lesson with the unicorn.
The only thing you did get from the unicorn that you wouldn't have got with an Epiphone was a livable headstock, because I know you hate those headstocks.
I had to bring this up on the episode because I don't want to get his name wrong, because I've had several conversations with him. Put him up on Facebook, so make sure I can say his name completely properly.
Okay.
It's Stephen Ray Conradi.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about Ryan's demo of the Harley Benton Fusion, and I mentioned that, man, if this thing came in a 2-point tremolo, like I'd be seriously looking at it. And of course, he texts me later and he says it does come in a 2-point tremolo. I'm like, damn it. So I have to bring it up on the show. The reason why I will not buy this guitar, and it's not really on my list. The reason I would not buy this guitar is that top is horrendous. And if you have to throw finishing work into it, you've obviously priced yourself out of the realm of possibility unless I do the finishing myself. And I really don't want another project guitar. Honestly, after this freaking Shengzai, the red unicorn, our mascot for the show, I honestly, it's not that it's a nightmare. It's just like, dude, it's so much easier to just go buy a regular guitar and just put the money down and be done with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you have to do one thing to it or 2 things to it. But when you start having to do over and over and over all this stuff that you got to do to it, it's like, why am I putting all this money into it?
Well, the funny thing is that the gripes that I've had about my Shengzai are the gripes I would have about a regular Les Paul too. It has a weird playing angle for me, like compared to what I'm used to playing. And then it does not stay in fucking tune. And every Les Paul I played, I've had problems with the G and D string staying in tune because the break angle.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna have to lube the shit out of it and hope for the best. But I bought this guitar. This was mostly a show experiment. I know it was a project thing. I bought this guitar for the show, and I will use it to track rhythm and stuff. Like I'll use the SG on one side and the Shengzai on the other, and then have my S500s up the middle or whatever in multi guitar recordings. I don't really do a whole lot of that. Usually I want to use one guitar and one sound and be done with it. But I have the option now, so I'm sure I will.
And that's what you should do. And you pan them.
as I said, one on the right, one on the left, one at the center.
Right. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
Pan them out.
I know what I'm doing, Jim.
Panorama.
I've been doing this for a while.
Panorama.
You know what?
Nama. We're over 100. We're over at 120 minutes or whatever it is. We gotta go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we are. All right. We're done. I've been David. That's Jim. We are
I'm
Practical
Jim.
Guitarists.
Have a good night.